Step right up, folks. You are now entering It's a Circus, where motherhood, womanhood, and self care aren't always a show stopping act, but they're certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in this season of becoming. Let's get the show rolling. Okay, welcome to It's a Circus podcast. It's a special one today because we are doing another Mother's Day special. And I have on here my husband, Dimitri, who gets to watch the front row seat of how we parent our children.
And sometimes be
So
on
welcome.
stage. And in this case, guest host. So welcome.
Yes, exactly.
To another episode. Yes, very excited to be back. The last time I was on was 1 year ago to the day or something, somewhere around there. And I can't believe it's been a year. How has it gone by this fast?
How
are we still alive?
How did we make it? I know. How did we make it through this morning, actually?
Look, I think everyone kind of has their own version of our kids are wild and no one truly understands. But then you have conversations with other parents and you're like, oh, good, it's not just us. However, I think two boys that are 14 months apart is a very unique thing. And truly, how are we still alive? Because on a day-to-day basis, one of them is hurting the other one, in a span of 30 minutes, probably 3 to 4 times. And then they're laughing immediately afterwards. But in the moment, until they're laughing, it kind of feels like the whole world has ended. And so from a parenting perspective, it's been tough. We've gone through ups and downs of trying to figure out what is the right way for two brothers who are at each other's throats to mediate. And there is no solution here. We just survive.
No. Yeah, we just do the best we can and move on.
Anyways, given that this is a special Mother's Day episode, we got some questions here that I'm going to basically host and ask Elsa. Elsa gets to be the guest on this one. And with no further ado, so last Mother's Day, starting off with a retrospective. Where are you now as a mom, as a woman, as an entrepreneur? Where are you now compared to a year ago? What's changed?
That's so crazy. I think where I am as a mom is I feel confident. I mean, I felt confident before, but I feel much more confident now that every day is changing and every season is quickly upon us. I think in our last episode we talked about how as soon as you get it down, it changes. And now I just feel like day to day, it's just the surrender of okay, let's figure out how in the world we're going to make this work and happen and go from there. So it's like a confidence in the unknown versus trying to control everything.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah. And then I think that then fuels into, what can I control or what do I want to create? And that is really about, I think, the success of this podcast. And then also the opening of the studio, which is really exciting, where I will get to film this podcast in person. So yeah, I think it's been a really busy, incredible, crazy year.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Elsa is opening a physical studio, a physical space where she will host beauty edits for Svea and record the podcast. I wish we could record that now. I wish we could record this episode in there. But today we're recording this on a Wednesday. Yeah, we're recording this on a Wednesday. We got the keys on Monday. We painted the inside and the outside and built furniture, and I almost died from heat exhaustion. So We are just taking things one day at a time, but we didn't really want to wait.
Yeah.
So, you know, beyond that, I agree. I think like relinquishing control is a big thing there. I think we both had to do that. It's been
Yes.
really hard. And also, yeah, like where your time goes. I think that you've taken on so much over the past year and really started to, yeah, like you said, gain a lot of confidence, but also figure out priorities. I think before you were
Yes.
trying to do a little bit of everything, and now you're starting to hone in on the things that will have the longest term and biggest impact, um,
Yeah.
while balancing, everyday stuff. So, um, yeah, it's been interesting. It's been amazing to watch your transition throughout that process because I think you've stepped into this entrepreneur role. And it's been a little bit terrifying for me because I'm trying to hold up the other end of things. Um,
Yeah.
but it's exciting. I mean, when we talk about this future of ours, I always say like you are the visionary. I'm just like the tool to execute, and I can hold us down for this period of time. But like, it's really Elsa is the tip of the spear for our family. She's breaking through all the barriers, and then I'm just trying to do cleanup along the way. Um, and I feel like we're starting to actually see that come to fruition now, which is really
Yeah.
exciting.
I do too. It is very exciting.
So to that end, what I'm trying to like reword this next question so it's a little bit more relevant, because it's a little broad how it's written right now. Um, was there anything? Was there any specific moment, or was there any specific time or period of time that kind of fueled that transition? That kind of got you over the hump from being like, I think I want to do this. I'm working on that. I'm playing around with this to now being like, I know what it is. It's the beauty edit. It's the podcast. We're combining these things and we're going forward here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there was one moment, but I do think obviously starting the podcast was big, not just because it was the start of the podcast, but it was also listening to all of the stories that were shared on the podcast. I found very like inspiring and made me realize that, no one is journeying this alone, although it feels like it, but it's a lot of the same themes come up um, in every conversation, although it's, from a different point of view, a different walk of life, but a lot of the same themes come up. And it gave me, I don't know, just this hope to be like, oh, okay, like I'm not the only one. I think it definitely helped. I think a lot of times, now in retrospect, you can kind of take a look and no fault of anyone, and definitely not even my fault either, to give myself grace, but like you can feel like you are a victim of the overwhelm and the situation that you're in. And I think hearing all the other stories and how so many people have felt that same way, but have like moved through that to find, what is their next. Um, I think just like really gave a lot of space to be like, oh, well, of course. Well, then this is my next. Then I'm moving this way. So I think that was just I think it was really powerful to like listen to all those stories and understand that like, you know, um you can still create what you want even though you are still tending and caring to your kiddos.
Yeah, both stories in the midst of doing that, as well as stories of having gone through it and now being on the other end. It's really interesting to see those different perspectives of, yeah, I'm still in the thick of it and it's still brutal. And I'm hoping that this thing happens or that thing works out. And then also hearing stories from people being like, I was there and I did not see a light at the end of the tunnel, but here I am and we're working it out, or it's figured out, but it's not perfect. Like in most instances, right? You kind of have hopes and dreams of how it would go, but it's never really exactly that. So it's just kind of like,
Right.
what is that version for each person? Usually aligns with like looking back on it, you have the hindsight and retrospective to be like, I'm glad it happened that way. Obviously it was fucking hard. It was brutal and nasty at moments, but you know, that's I think one of the most powerful things about the podcast is like there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of there's a lot of um, being able to look back on those moments and say, yeah, it felt impossible, but ultimately we worked through it.
Yes. And oftentimes it is impossible. And yet you continue to like show up every day. So I think that is, so powerful in the like simplest sense, but it is so powerful to be able to do that and see people do that.
Well, I think that's an interesting point because with kids, there is no choice. You show up every day, whether you feel like you want to or can, you're
Yeah.
there. There's no
Yeah.
choice. And so I think I'd like to hear you kind of talk about that a little bit more about like showing up every day when you feel like you have nothing left, because there is days obviously where we both feel that way, where we're distracted by something else that we're doing or something else that's happened with political and economic climate. There's things where it's tough to pay attention to the news because you're just trying to figure out why your kid, why their poop looks that way, or why they're having the third tantrum in a span of 30 minutes. And you're just like, what is happening here? So, like, talk about showing up every day, what that looks like to you, and what that looks like to you now as opposed to a year ago.
So I think two things. One is I think the best gift that you can give yourself in tough moments and also your kiddo is to be as present as possible. So if you can not think about all the like crazy things you have to do or all the things that you're distracted by right now because you have to like, you know, make lunch for everybody or do whatever, if you can stay present, if you can let all of that go and just really truly be in the moment, I think that eases a lot of tension. And so I think that's like number one. And then number two is to know that um, you just need to show up as yourself. And so, if as yourself, you're going to have a lazy Saturday because you had a crazy week and it's, one of the full days you get with your kiddos and you have a lazy day with them, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to be packed. You don't have to like do the whole big thing every single time. So, I think it's just if you can strip away kind of the expectations and strip away some of these like not so important things like making sure every single dish is clean or like their rooms look perfect or, they're having like a homemade meal. If those things don't happen every single day, it's fine. You don't need to go through a shame spiral or, give yourself a hard time over those things. I think that can really help. So being present and then like being radically present. And then the other thing is just being okay with, I mean, for lack of a better word, like lowering your expectation. Like, it's okay.
I think just giving
You
in.
don't have to be, yes, you don't have to be like perfect, everything planned out or how you dreamed to be. Just if you can just be yourself, period, whatever that is, that day, that moment, that's just much more powerful than pretending to be all these other things.
Yeah, I think the expectation setting is a really big part of this because you read books or you watch shows or movies or you're on Instagram and there's so many examples of how to handle certain situations. And it feels like every time you don't do it perfectly that you failed. And I think it's just really unrealistic. It's not fair to put yourself up against that kind of a wall on a daily basis. Uh, and I told you, I was like, stop sending me those memes about, or not me. It was like they're not memes because these categories of content fall into two very specific buckets. There's like entertainment and humor, which I think is fine and it's relatable and it eases the burden of like, okay, cool, it's not just me. But then there's this other form of content of like, you know, it usually comes from this place of like education or like, did you know that like the amount of iron that your kid needs before the age of 5 is X, and if they don't get that, then like all this stuff like it has to happen before the age of 5, and suddenly you feel underwater because you're like, how much iron is my kid getting? I don't know. Feels threatening. Like it pulls at your response system. Makes me feel
Yeah.
like my blood pressure rises. I can feel it when I'm not doing what I should be doing as a parent. And, again, it's all very relatable and it's fine. It's good to know that information. But I told you, I was like, stop sending me this because it's not helping. It doesn't make me feel like I'm learning. I'm like, oh, yeah, noted. I'll do these things to make them more advanced in an academic sense, or make sure that they're as healthy as humanly possible. Um, Showing up literally just means to me, and to what I think you're saying, is like, just all the kid needs is love. Just don't do your best to sit next to them on the couch for that lazy Saturday and try to push off.
So, and snuggle them, yes, and have fun. I know that can be just as fine and okay than like taking them, halfway across the state and doing something like super crazy. So, the other thing that I even meant, I didn't even think about like social media, but I was thinking like your own expectations. So, like, if you have your own expectations of like, oh, I'm gonna, I don't know, we're going to go to the pool every day and that's going to be super fun, but you get like super high anxiety and you're like a mess at the pool every day. I mean, that then don't do that. It's okay. You don't have to do that. So I think there's that piece.
Yeah, to me, they're super interconnected because it's like, I think that those things that you see on social media inform your expectations in a lot of ways. Because without those,
Yeah.
your expectations are according to your friends and family around you and like what you grew up with.
Okay.
And we know that especially immigrant parents are some of the toughest. They have the highest expectations and they refuse to understand some of the changes and how the world has changed. I had this conversation recently with my mom just about the fact that like YouTube and iPads has psychologically changed kids' expectations. Amazon has changed things. When they want a toy, they don't actually have to go to the store. It can show up on your
Yeah.
doorstep the next day. And our
Yeah.
kids think Amazon is the mail because if something shows up at our door, they're like, the mail's here. And I'm like, that's not. I mean, kind of, but like it's a very interesting view and perspective into how they understand how the world works, that everything is immediate and they've known nothing else. And so it's harder for them to have more patience and to be able to control their feelings as a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 year old compared to us when those things didn't exist. There wasn't an option. It was just what was on TV. And so I think the psychological element of that is very, very interesting and challenging when establishing your own expectations informed by the worldview around you before even social comes into contact with that. And then when it does, it just gets sped up even more and you're expected to know and do more, all of that stuff. And so take it easy. Just take it easy on yourself.
Yeah. Take it. Take it easy, please.
Um, okay. The next question, I like this one. Um, to anyone listening that feels like they've lost themselves a little in parenthood, what would you tell them about finding their way back? About climbing out of the hole, whether that's postpartum depression or whether it is feeling like there is no way out of those expectations, that they're saddled by them, that there isn't just like, oh, just be present and like manage your own expectations. Like they feel like they're drowning. What would you say?
Yeah, so number one, always, and this is just to anyone and for anything, but specifically in these moments, is to ask for help. So a lot of times we think, and especially as a mom, that you should be able to be the one that can just completely give everything to the kiddos. And it is true. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And in motherhood, I think when you hear that phrase, you're like, well, I don't have a choice. I have to. But if you are feeling wild and like on the brink of something, or like a break sounds really good, whether that's a drink with friends or a night at a hotel by yourself so you can have some quiet time, that's asking for help. And that's needed and necessary for every person, no matter what season that you're in. And I think when you are in a season where a lot is being asked of you, that's almost more of a time where you need to demand those things for yourself so that you can show up. So I think asking for help, it does not make you weak, it makes you stronger. And if that feels selfish for you, it's not. So I think that's the other thing too, is like I've heard, women on this podcast, on other podcasts, be like, you absolutely have to be selfish with your well being and your, overall mental health right now, specifically as you're raising kiddos, especially with the young ones when you're sleep deprived, when you potentially are breastfeeding, so your body is like completely depleted. Those little moments for you are like not moments for you, they're like necessary for your survival. So I would just say, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, we did this. So we have the luxury of a guest room. We every once in a while, Elsa would take a night and like sleep down in the guest room. And usually, if the kids get up at night, I'm getting up with them because it's a little bit easier for me to just like get them back in bed and then be like, all right, cool, I'm out. Whereas if Elsa does it, she has to like sit next to them for an extra 10, 20, 40 minutes. And so I usually do that, but it was a really interesting, it wasn't even an experiment, just kind of happened by accident. Um, first night, Elsa goes down, she sleeps down there, and I'm like, wake up in the morning. Even though I got up a couple of times, I was like, I actually slept pretty well. And then the later that day, she said, I was like, she said I could use another night, and I was like, you know what, do it, like do another night. Secretly, I was like, it wasn't that bad, but I didn't say that to her. Second night goes by, and wake up again. I'm like, I slept pretty well again. Like I don't know how this is functioning, but it's working. And it was a really interesting, um, like it was also that started or I guess posed the idea of like, I want to sleep down there to just get a better night's rest. Um, and that in her sense was asking for help. She just wanted a night off per se. And
Yeah,
it
exactly.
actually ended up being beneficial for me too. I mean, obviously that didn't continue, but it just sparked it planted the seed that like it's not a big deal and it actually can be helpful to both parties if that person just needs to take time away, needs to take time off.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this thing that came up on so obviously I'm a big component of this. I've like always said this, like you need to take time for yourself. And then when I started doing that, I felt so much better and better and better. And then I read like some meme somewhere that was like, you why would you wish this away? Like the whole guilt tripping again to
That's
the
what I'm saying.
person,
That's the
yeah, that
stuff on social
wants
that drives
or
me
like
crazy.
needs. I know. It's like really disappointing to see it. But at the same time, um, is that the guilt and shame around doing something for yourself is like not yours to bear. Do you know what I mean? So it's like if you know for yourself that like taking a night to sleep on the couch or to, you know, have a night off, whatever that is, um, to know that that would like refuel you, um, then you should do it so that you can go back and just, enjoy whatever else. But this idea of like shaming what somebody might need to feel better is a very tough place to be. And I hate that I saw that the other day and I was going to comment on it, but I left it be because I was just like, wow, maybe there is a world and is people that that's where their, sanctuary comes in and that is also fine. But again, if you are in the thick of it, if you are feeling overwhelmed, please ask for help. Ask for help in a way that saves you time and like sleep and rest and just space.
Yeah, or join a cabaret because that also
Or
gives
dance and
you
sing.
gives you energy. It's
Yes,
it can
absolutely.
take the form of a lot of different things, basically.
It's true.
Um, okay, so last question, and this is looking forward 1 year from now
Ooh.
when we
Oh,
do
I love this
V3 of
one.
this.
Yes.
Where, I mean, take out the entrepreneurial piece of like where you want to be with your business, focusing mostly on like motherhood, parenthood. Where do you want to be? What do you want to feel like on a day-to-day basis? And obviously, don't give the generic answer of like, I want to be happy and fulfilled. That's obvious. Um, what do you want to not be struggling with anymore that you feel like you currently are?
I mean, I hope that like our rhythm of like our family rhythm has like, continued to like kind of set I don't know if settle is the right word, but like feel at peace. So, which I don't know if that is a possibility, but like it would feel great to just feel more at peace about things. So, I don't know. I think that I would love to just continue to see them grow in their interests and like us being able to fuel that for them even more now that they're like older and more sophisticated. And then I think, yeah, just to find some more peace, which maybe is just more nights in the guest room potentially. But yes.
Okay, this has been It's a Circus podcast with your guest host, husband, and star, Elsa.
Yay. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for the interview and all the questions. And yes, I'm so excited. So, I mean, yes, we've been updating you all the time on social, but studio in person interviews are coming up soon. And I can't wait for that.
Big things ahead. Big things. Follow
Big
along.
things ahead. Okay, well, happy Mother's Day. Thanks for the
Happy Mother's
questions.
Day. I love you.
I love you. Okay, bye.
Bye. See you at dinner.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus podcast. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something special at the Turner Brothers Circus, a space for women in transition to find connection, laughter, and support as they navigate motherhood, identity, and taking care of themselves along the way. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.